Okay, so it happened several years ago. I was a young girl, you know. Like I say, I always like to start from the beginning. I was a young village girl who was brought to the city to live with an aunt. So my father brought me to see his elder sister, and I refused to go back because I liked what I saw. And fast forward barely 3 years later, I was 10, and I was raped by this neighbor's son. And at the time, I didn't even know what it was to be raped. I didn't know what it meant to be a virgin. I had not even learned how to speak good English like I do. I was just very angry, and I just felt that this boy had injured me. You know, so much so that when I saw him sometime after that, I became very afraid of him. You know, I would just see him and I would just begin to shiver.
Yes.
And I remember a day he came to fetch some water, and I was so afraid of him. I was even beaten up because I allowed him to take my bucket of water. So fast forward to barely 2 years later, I was going on 12 when the real abuse started.
Oh my word.
My adopted father, that is my auntie's husband, began to molest me. And I remember that night, the very first night, very well. And I remember everything in between up until the 7 years that it lasted.
Oh my word.
And one of the things that negatively affected me was the warnings I was given when it started. He told me, do not tell anyone. If you tell anyone, I'll send you back to the village and you will die after 7 days. And then I had...
Sorry.
Yes, please.
He threatened
yes.
to kill you.
Yes. Most abusers threaten their victims, and that is where the silence begins, because they want to ensure that you will not tell anyone. And as the young girl that I was very afraid and had started to attend school, and I was quite, you know, bright in school. So I didn't want to tell anyone because I didn't want to go back to the village.
You didn't want to go back to the village, so that just gave him that power.
That leverage, and it continued. You know, when I tell people that it happened almost every other night, it would look like I was exaggerating. But abusers have a way of, you know, making their environment very conducive for them. So my abuser made sure that I was sleeping in the living room while the other family members slept in the bedroom, even though we had a good enough space, so that he would have ample time to come for me. And like I say, almost every night. There were a lot of gory things that happened that I, you know, don't always want to talk about because they bring very sad memories.
Every night for 7 years?
Yes. The night when I had a few breaks was when I began to menstruate, and so those few days of my menstrual flow, I would have some break.